Hello, everyone. Welcome to Small Talk. Well, joining me today, and I'm very pleased to have her here, this is Lisa Morry. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much.
So you're here to talk about something, a beautiful, special fundraiser, correct?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I'm on the board of Chilliwack Citizens for Change. You probably know already that I do a lot of volunteer work in Chilliwack, right? And I'm guessing that's why you asked me.
Well, among other things.
Okay.
No, yeah, absolutely. And the more people I can get on with spreading the word of whatever it is you're doing, the better it is for everybody, for Chilliwack especially, you know?
So this organization has been around for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we like to do is to get involved and try to promote progressive political change, right? So our issues are like climate justice and transportation and housing and the sort of things that are important to most people, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we're going to do a fundraiser. It's going to be on September 21st. I brought the posters, September 14th, pardon me. September 14th at Métis House, 5:30 p.m., 7201 Better Road in Chilliwack. And we're going to have the Maybells. And I don't know if you've ever heard the Maybells. Have you?
No.
Okay, so I know Brittany Sovereign quite well because we're on the board together with the Downtown Chilliwack Community Market.
Okay.
And so Brittany's on that board, and she's also one of the members of the Maybells. So that's Brittany right there.
Okay.
And Krista, she used to sing with one of my kids.
Is it right there?
Long ago, Chilliwack School of Performing Arts. Yes, the Maybells are going to sing. They do a lot of older cover music. And hopefully people will really have fun with that. Might even get up and dance a little bit.
Right.
We're going to have barbecue and maybe just a little talking, not a whole lot, but a little bit talking about some of the issues and some of the things that are important.
Right.
It's an opportunity for folks to get together.
Yeah, because sometimes people don't know, like they might have heard the Chilliwack Climate for Change or Citizen for Change, but they might not necessarily know what it's all about, you know, and sometimes people hesitate. But if they go to these things and learn a little bit more, like I think that makes a big difference, right?
Well, I think so too. And I think everything really slowed down with COVID.
Yes.
Like we were doing really well pre-COVID. And so we came back, we had a town hall, we invited people, we asked people to bring their ideas because it's not about preconceptions really. One of the things that came out of that town hall was Sunday Club, Not a Church, the C is Silent snack. So they meet on Sunday mornings, but it's non-denominational, it's about fellowship. Now, that's not something of which I am a part, but it's something that some people are really looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, like, I hear this all the time. There's a lot of people out there that are alone and they don't know how to connect to other groups, right? So I think anytime there's an event, especially a fundraiser. So well, now, where do the funds go?
Well, that's the best question. It really is. So we use those things to put on events. So for in the past, for example, we've done climate justice events and we'll spend some money on that. In the upcoming election, for example, we're not taking a partisan stance, but we're looking for ways that we can raise awareness. So we might use our money to do something like that. We have to stay, of course, within election BC rules. But one of the ideas that was tossed around was, you remember speed date a client? We did that.
Say that again.
Speed date a client. Remember in 2018?
Oh, yes. Okay.
For the municipal election. So I was actually running in 2018 and I was one of the candidates. So Chilliwack Citizens for Change set this up. It was downtown. It was at the Royal Hotel in sort of that big great area they have where I think it's Whiskey Richards now. It wasn't. It was just a great big room. Right. And there was a gong. And so there were so many candidates that year. Do you remember so many council and school board? There were so many. Yeah. And so they had the candidates at a different desk. And then all of the people who wanted to learn about things could go around and talk to the candidate. And they had a time set up in a few minutes. Right. Something like that. Yeah. And then Margaret Reed, bless her socks, she is now a school trustee, but back then she was not. Right. And she got up there and she banged the gong and then people were signaled to move around and try a new candidate. So it takes money to put on events like that and have to rent a venue. So that's an idea that we did in the past. Not sure that would actually work with the provincial election. Right. Yeah. So another idea might be like, for example, an all candidates meeting. Right. I know the chamber does that. So, you know, we're still exploring our ideas, but that's one of the ways that we might use money. We could use money to advertise in the newspaper, not for the election, of course, but for climate justice or any of the events that are being put on to do the good work. Yeah.
Right. You know, now you mentioned climate justice. What exactly does that mean?
Well, we should have had Erin Croquet here. She's really the person you want to talk to about that. In fact, you should have her.
I think she's been on the show before.
Has she?
But not about that.
So Erin is a scientist, Statlu Environmental Consulting, and she's a member of the board of Chilliwack Citizens for Change. And she's one of the people who's helping to put on this fundraiser. She's working with me. I was madly messaging her this morning when I was setting up the event on our Facebook page. And so Erin is an expert in various aspects of climate change, climate justice. And she's done a lot of work on saving the slough in Chilliwack. Okay. And so that's kind of like one of her projects. But I really think that you should talk to her, and you probably already have.
No, actually, I was thinking, no, I don't think I've had her on the show. I think it was to do with she might have been volunteering for the Cupcake Festival. So
she does a lot of volunteering. This year, she's the president of the Chilliwack Fair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I noticed about people who volunteer, they volunteer for a lot of different things. Like I had to stop doing it because it's hard to say no.
It is hard to say no, but it also brings you a full life.
Well, for sure, yeah, for sure. But you know, sometimes you overextend yourself, and it's like, oh my God, I can't. You know, I can't do the permit with my show. And it's like I can't do everything that I want to do, so I'm sticking to certain things.
It's all about balance.
Yeah.
And I was talking with a friend about that, Amber Price, who is involved with the Mural Festival and volunteers everywhere as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a balance of community service and taking care of yourself. And you really have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, then you can't do the other things.
So true. Absolutely true. Right. So, okay. So let's discuss some of the other things that the fundraiser is for. So we talked about climate justice, right? What were some of the other things?
Well, we don't necessarily spend money on everything that we do. No, we do a lot of work without spending any money. In fact, I would say most of the work that we do is without spending any money. So, for example, we go and speak to city council, especially around budget time, but we do keep an eye on what they're doing. Can't necessarily get there in person, but know that we are watching you on YouTube if we can't get to the meeting in person, to know what's going on so that we can have a voice. So around budget time, we will look at the budget and we will say, okay, well, maybe we think we should spend some money on active transportation or firefighters, for example. I think that's a big one. I think that firefighting in the city is desperately underfunded, especially as we're growing. I mean, even more so now. You see all the construction around here, and we're still a volunteer fire department. We're a city of more than 100,000 people. We've spoken about things like how we think there should be 8 city councilors rather than 6, because that's for a city of 50,000 or less. And we have for a long time been way bigger than that. So housing, members of our board have, or it doesn't have to be board members, just members, have gone and spoken to city council about housing, affordable housing, because everybody needs affordable housing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's just kind of interesting because I've had the mayor on the show many times, and I've talked to him about like in my opinion, like if you make Chilliwack a leader in a way, set the precedent for certain things that are not being done anywhere else. You know, this is a good thing. Like, and it was like, okay, well, you've got these LED lights, street lights. Well, yeah, that's wonderful, and they should have them. You know, and they got lit up cross light. But what about the fact that people are still watering lawns like it's grass? You know, like it's grass. It'll grow back. First rain, it'll grow back. They don't even need it. Or anyway, I did discuss that carburetors, because I have an issue with carburetors, right?
Really?
Oh, people say, everybody I talk to, like we have carburetors in our building.
Right.
Everybody that has one says the same thing. Oh, and I just use it once in a while. In Vancouver, it cost them, I can't remember how many millions of dollars clogging the sewer system.
What?
Due to carburetors. So ban them. Instead of banning them, they encourage people not to use them. Now, in some of the provinces, they have banned them, and it's like just simple things like that. Like these are changes that are doable, that don't affect anybody like in a bad way. You know, in our building, everything we need to do where we need to put is downstairs in the parking garage. There's a compost bin, there's a recycle bin, there's a garbage bin. So it's not like you have to put anything out on the curb. You know, you'll fill a little pail full of your peelings or whatever like that,
Yeah.
and take them downstairs. There's an elevator, there's stairs, you know? And it's just simple things like that. Well, he uses his occasionally, so.
I didn't even know. But we all have so much to learn.
Well, and it's just like simple things, you know, like I really believe that Chilliwack could be a leader. You know, if you think about Citizens for Change, for instance, you know, whatever your agenda is, you know, that's really wonderful because somebody has to bring it up, whatever the issues are that you see, or your group sees, or people might worry, you know, have a concern for, right?
One of the things I see personally is that we've done a lot of things in an older way of thinking. So if you look at like transportation, for example, in Chilliwack, more than 90% of us drive. I drove here.
Right.
Because there's little alternative.
Right.
I can't imagine what it would have taken to get from my home in Promontory downtown to you by bus and what time I would have had to start in the morning, right?
Yes.
To take that bus. Bus service, well, I'm not going to really dump on transit here because I think it's very important. But with the way that Chilliwack has grown, bus service is not meeting the need, right? But you also need the critical density to make it cost effective to run transit. And so we've built basically a racetrack for pickups. And that's what we've got. People driving way too fast, people in their cars all the time, services just spread out everywhere. You look at Promontory, there are a lot of services out there. Do you realize there's 12,000 people on Promontory?
Really? Wow.
So it's like 6 times bigger than Harrison Hot Springs.
Yeah, wow.
Well, what has Harrison Hot Springs got? Well, they got their own government. Right now, it does get bigger when there are tourists there in the summer.
For sure.
But they have their own government, they have their own fire department, and they have lots of municipal services, which appropriately so they do need.
Right.
But I don't think that Promontory needs to be separate from Chilliwack. It just needs some of the services. There's one school up there. What about all the kids? I mean, the construction is just spreading out across the hillside. There's only 2 routes off of there, and those roads are not in the greatest of shape.
I lived in Ryder Lake, so since I know, I understand what you're saying. It's the same type of thing when the kids were bused into Chilliwack to go to school. Same type of thing, right?
And I wouldn't feel safe riding my bike to work.
Yeah, right.
From Promontory, I've got to go down the hill.
Yeah. What about going back? You know, getting up that hill afterwards, you know.
I could get an electric bike, but it's just not safe.
Right.
I mean, we looked at that, but I just wouldn't feel safe. Now, maybe if I was, you know, one of those super experienced cyclists, but the point of active transportation is that everybody should be able to use it.
Yes.
And you shouldn't have to be an elite athlete who can ride their 10 speed up the hill.
Yes.
You know, you should be anyone just going to work. Or what about all the kids going to school, right? And what about seniors? So my parents-in-law live on the hillside and they no longer drive. They're pretty much stuck. They don't have bus service. So we need to consider people who can't get in their cars. So it shouldn't just be then, you know, 90% of trips are made by car. We should actually be developing with active transportation in mind and with bus routes and transit in mind and with services that are close to people. And we're just not doing that.
Right. So what do you think it is that we're not doing it?
I think it's because we need more imagination. And retrofitting is going to be difficult because you've already built the situation where you don't have these corridors for active transportation. Where are you going to put a beautiful separated bike lane? Right. And I do not mean like what we have on Press Road, where it extends partway down the road and it disappears in the middle of a really busy street where people drive super fast.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It totally is. So what we need on Press, for example, I'll talk about that because I live on Promontory, is we need that road to be wider because the roads coming off of Promontory back up during the morning commute, especially when there's kids, especially when it's kids going to school, because everybody's driving their kids, right? Yeah. And so it backs up. So we need that to be a wider road, maybe even like Evans, like 4 lanes. We need proper shoulders because there's those big ditches, right? And we need a separated bike lane so that people who would like to ride their bikes can do so safely. And so that people, mind you, it's a bit far, Prest is kind of isolated, but talking about roads in general, we need those places where people can use mobility devices.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where kids are safe to ride their bikes, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's really interesting, you know. So, you know, and I mean, I know that's the engineering department, right? That's the roads and, what is it, Parks and Roads Department, City Hall that does all this planning. Like I sometimes wonder when they're planning the roads or whatever it is, are you out there? You know, are you out there ahead of time to see if it's gonna work? And then I think about, all these buildings going up, right? There's one that just here at the corner
The
of
church.
the church.
Oh, I love what they're doing.
Well, yeah, I think it's great. The thing is that there's no parking. There's not gonna be including parking. And the premise is that, well, most of those people below income, they probably won't have vehicles. But what if they do? Where do they go? This is a business section where I am.
Right.
You only can park for 2 hours. It's like, it's not thought out properly, I think. And also, why cap it at like 5 stories or 6 stories? Instead of having all these buildings everywhere, build up. Have less of them, but build up, and it's like, okay.
Well, it's complicated, and you come right back to it. It is about planning.
Yeah.
It's totally about planning. So if you plan a community that has the services that are local, and I think downtown, mind you, I can walk quite far, but I'm very privileged to be able to do that.
Right.
Not everyone can. But if you have the services, if you can get to a grocery store, if you can get to that third place, like a community center or a coffee shop or wherever it is, or even a great park where you can hang out with your buddies, right?
Yes.
If you can get to transit to get to health appointments or whatever you need, if you can get to that grocery store, if you can do all that within walking distance, then maybe you don't need a car.
Right.
But we've got a plan for that. Now, I think if you were downtown, it's pretty walkable.
Yes.
But if you get in your car, I've driven my car downtown to get something done to it, and then I get out and walk. And so I have walked down Yale Road, which is not actually very walkable. It's actually kind of dangerous. There actually is a sidewalk, but it's not a comfortable place to be walking. It feels like the traffic's just like whizzing right past your elbow.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart. So Chilliwack itself is not particularly walkable, but if you can make those neighborhoods, if you can plan them out, if you can think about how people will actually live there, then maybe they don't need cars.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, one of the reasons why I moved, was still driving when I first moved here. Okay, I had a house on Margaret, but once my husband passed, it was hard to maintain the house. And I picked this spot purposely because I knew I could walk to the pharmacy, to the grocery store, to my doctor's office, right? And then eventually, I had to give up driving so I could still do all of these things. And if not, I use what I call my pimp mobile, which is my mobility scooter. But I use that when I have to carry anything heavy because I have problems with my back. So I have, right? So, but this spot right here is really good for, as you say, for those people who don't drive anymore, who can still get around, and everything's just like right at hand, right? So we had more like things like that. Where was I living? I can't remember if it was in Ontario at the time, but when a builder came in and wanted to build more than like a group of homes, not just 1 or 2 homes, they had to provide whatever it is that area didn't have. So let's just say it needed a park. Okay, you want to build 10 homes, 20 homes, you have to install a park. Make sure there's a park for kids. It's something like that, right? And that really worked. It was good. Or maybe it needed another school. Something.
Well, this kind of stuff is complicated because schools are built to accommodate the current need.
Yes.
And that's the way it's set up provincially. I don't think the school board can really do anything about that.
I don't think so.
And so what happens is you build that school and there's more homes built, and then you're putting portables on the school property. It's really unfortunate.
And then you're taking them away as the enrollment decreases. It's like
if that happens, yeah.
Well, it's like this type of thing, right? Growing and getting smaller and growing again as as people age, their children are no longer in the elementary schools, right? So it does get complicated. Anyway, let's get back to just remind people about the fundraiser again. So it's at the Métis House.
Yes.
On Yale.
It's on Vetter.
On Vetter.
7201 Vetter Road. So it's building 4. So it's on the corner of Vetter and I believe that's Wells there. It's that little heritage house. And we're going to be in the garden outside with the lights. We have the lights run through the trees, and we're going to have a barbecue. I don't know if you can see that beautiful picture. That's from our fundraiser that we did there. Oh, I think it was last year.
Okay, and the tickets are $35, which is very reasonable.
Oh, thank you.
Right? Well, no, I think that's a good price because people you can't go to a restaurant for that.
You're right, you can't.
So I think that's really good. You get entertainment. You get everything you need right there. So, will there be transportation provided for people who can't make it, who can't drive?
Well, the good thing about being on Nevada Road is it actually is on a bus route.
Okay, all right, so there is, yeah, just the regular local buses.
There is, yeah,
okay.
yeah, we don't have like a shuttle service or anything like that.
Is there a website that people can check out if they want to?
Yes, just Google Chilliwack Citizens for Change. We totally do have a website.
Great,
Yeah.
okay, so is there anything else we need to discuss? What do you mean by, well, yeah, let's wait. What about progressive political change? What does exactly do you mean by that?
Well, for me, it's a lot about like what we were just talking about, thinking about new ways of doing things, thinking about bringing us to a place where a lot of other modern cities are, and thinking about things like active transportation and protecting our environment and fire protection and just a good place to live for people, a way for seniors and people who don't drive to get around, kids feeling safe, getting to school, all of that sort of thing that, you know, might take a few tweaks in the way that we've been doing things.
Right.
It's about thinking about new ways of doing things.
Right. Now, another thing I noticed, what was this?
Sunday Club, not a church.
Oh, that reminds people what that is again.
So it's about fellowship for people who don't necessarily want to go to church. It's non-denominational, so it has nothing to do with religion whatsoever. It's just about that sort of fellowship that a church can give you. You know how when you belong to a church, there's just everybody knows your name and people are willing to help each other and they look out for each other and they care about each other. And it's that sort of idea, except without the religion part.
Where does that take place?
Well, they're looking for a permanent home. So actually, we've spent some money on that, talking about where the money has gone.
Yeah.
We've actually rented some space for Sunday Club, not a church. As Chilliwack Citizens for Change, we've given them some money to rent. At one point, they were meeting in Central Elementary basement. Don't know if that's going to be the permanent place, but they're looking at more places to meet. I don't think they're going to meet again until the fall, but that's coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're in the middle of August already, right?
Oh, hard to believe. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I think this is all really great, and I appreciate you being here. So just to the audience, you've been listening to Lisa Morry, and check it out. You know, just like she said, Google Citizen for Change, Chilliwack Citizen for Change, and everything you need to know is there. Who's in like the board? I'm sure the members of the board are all listed. And
we're all listed.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching the show. I hope I gotta find the button before we go. I hope you continue to do so. Take care, everybody, and peace out.
Take care.
All right. Wait a minute. Where's the off button?